Welcome back. Well, in addition to the new agreement allowing France to station forces in the Gulf, France is also a major player in the Middle East arms market. It competes with Britain and the US for lucrative contracts, especially in the Gulf. Qatar has bought an array of French military equipment, including combat aircraft. The Emirates also purchased French combat planes in addition to anti-ship missiles and tanks. And France has also had some success in Saudi Arabia, selling the Saudis military hardware such as helicopters and a frigate, although it recently did lose some bids to the British. Joining us again, our guest from Dubai, Riyad Khawaji, military analyst. In Paris, Patrice de Beer, former editor of Le Monde. And in London, Mark Fitzpatrick, senior fellow at the International Institute for Strategic Studies. Paris and Patrice de Beer, if I may start with you. This military base that's going to be in Abu Dhabi, around about 500 permanent military personnel stationed there. What does France want it for? Very close to Iran, of course.
Yes, of course it will be facing Iran, but it will be a base for the French fleet, which is in the Gulf and in the seas around the Arabian Peninsula. It can be a place to repair and for stopover for jet fighters going to Afghanistan rather than being in a less stable country like Tajikistan. And it can be also a base for military cooperation with the Gulf states. Of course, the presence of modern military hardware, ships, airplanes is also a good thing for trying to sell military equipment to the region, of course.
Your president said a short while ago, if I may butt in at this point, your president said a short while ago, after doing a similar nuclear deal with Algeria, he said the sharing of civilian nuclear technology will be one of the foundations of a pact of confidence which the West must forge with the Islamic world. Now, this is vital, isn't it? It's not just about French national interest, what we're seeing here. It's about an idea of global security.
Of course, it's global security in the military area, as we've just discussed. But also, President Sarkozy made a quite extraordinary speech in Saudi Arabia before going to the Gulf states, where he praised reformist Islam, including in Saudi Arabia, which might raise some eyebrows somewhere. And he insisted in the civilization role of religion, saying that after all, Christians, Jews, and Muslims were praying the same God, and that there was nothing wrong in religion except when it was used for backward political purposes. The role of the Gulf states and cooperation with the Gulf state is crucial for President Sarkozy, as for other Western leaders, in the fight against Islamic terrorism.
Riyad Khawaji in Dubai, if it's a matter of trust, is it an equal relationship, or is it at the moment for Gulf countries a matter of, look, we have to join forces with you, we have to believe in what you're promoting because the alternative is just too worrying?
No, of course. I mean, it is a matter of trust. That is, it's a matter of, signing on to mutual interest, that you're sending your troops to have them based in a permanent manner on the soil of the UAE, to have a permanent power projection in the region here. So you will share the same threat perceptions, and you will, if UAE is to be subjected to any foreign threat, the French would be subsequently committed to defense of the UAE. I mean, this is the perception over here amongst the leadership from the basing. And also, we have to remember that the Gulf region, the Gulf waters now is becoming busier, with the Russians intending to send more assets in here, the Indians and the Chinese building blue water navies, and they're expected to have more footprint in the Gulf waters. So to have a power projection, a base in the UAE is also a futuristic strategy for the French as well.
Mark Fitzpatrick, let's come back to you in London from the IISS, describing itself as the world's leading authority on political and military conflict. If it's about trust, it's not just about the Gulf countries trusting France or the wider Western governments. It's also about the other side trusting the Gulf countries not to take advantage of any kind of nuclear program that might be on offer, because many minds in this area will go back to just after the Suez War, when France actually sort of helped Israel with a nuclear program, which Israel said was going to be for a desalination plant, and of course it ended up building a bomb.
It's important that any nuclear deals offered to anyone in the region have an implicit deal that this is just for nuclear power. And I think that's one of the safeguards that France is building into these deals. It won't say so explicitly, and I'm not privy to the deals themselves, but the French companies can handle the whole range of fuel cycle services, from enriching the fuel to dealing with the spent fuel. And so there would be no need for the recipients to be involved in either of those dangerous technologies.
And do
these deals are about...
Please carry on.
I was going to say, these deals are about building trust. It's also important to keep the Gulf states feeling that they can rely on France, on the United States, on the West, that at a time when Iran is flexing its muscles, that the Gulf states don't have to be subservient to Iran. They don't have to appease Iran. They have a protector in the Western countries. And this sense of protection, these defense relationships, are important also in the long term, so that the Gulf states and the other Arab countries don't think that they have to embark upon nuclear weapons technologies in order to keep pace with Iran. They won't have any need for their own nuclear weapons plans, because they have a defense umbrella relationship with the West.
Riyad Khawaji, one of the points you made to one of our producers before we came on air was that there will be no particular worries about the uranium that's being enriched, because that will happen outside the GCC. No fears that it could use it as a military weapon, no health risks as well. Is that absolutely certain?
Well, right now, the way this thing is being shaped is that the French would provide technology, and would also provide the enriched uranium at a lower grade to be used as fuel for the power plants. It's unlike the Iranian program, where the fuel cycle is local, is domestic in Iran. The uranium is being processed there, is being enriched over there, and therefore the Iranians can at a moment notice turn it into a political, into a military, they can weaponize it in just a short period of time without anybody, noticing that. So this is a different system where all the technology will come from the outside. The Emiratis would learn the technology, but not necessarily acquire or own the technology. This is the basic difference. And one last thing I want to add here, as a paradox, the Iranian power plant, Bushehr, the foundation for that plant was done by the French and the German. I mean, this is the French interest in selling uranium, or building a nuclear, or selling nuclear technology to the region here is something very old. And it's not just the Israelis. They were also very much involved with helping the Iranians before the revolution.
Mark Fitzpatrick, quick word from you before I end the programme with Patrice de Beer, a view from Paris, I think appropriate to bring our discussion to a conclusion. But a thought from you on whether this kind of programme in the long term will be good or bad for global security.
Oh, I think it'll be fine for global security as long as it stops at nuclear power. It'll promote economic development, and economic development is itself a strong component of global security.
Patrice de Beer from Paris, former editor of Le Monde. France has long had a love affair with nuclear power that's not necessarily the same as those of its other European neighbours. It must be a feeling across France that this is going to be pretty good for the economy, and pretty good perhaps for France's position within the world.
Of course, France's electricity production is between 80 and 90% nuclear. People are used to it. There is no great worry about it. And the general public feels that the more nuclear plants we can sell, the better, provided they are not sold to risky countries where they could one day fall into the wrong hands. The worry is, of course, what we see in Pakistan. But the French think that the Gulf states, as well as Morocco, Libya maybe, but I'm not totally sure, are for the moment safe countries. Only the future can tell me whether it's true or not. But for
Indeed.
the time present, there is some logic in it.
Okay, Patrice de Beer from Paris, thank you very much indeed. Riyad Khawaji talking to us from Dubai. Thank you for your thoughts, and also our thanks to Mark Fitzpatrick out of London. And thank you for joining us here on this edition of Inside Stories. Your comments and suggestions always welcome. Inside Story at aljazeera.net. From all of us on the team, thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.